Hello everyone, Mazarok here, and we've got 10.2 tank tier sets to talk about. That's right. With all of the news yesterday, they released all of the initial 10.2 tier set bonuses and looks, and we're going to be going over the tanks today. Now, first, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the looks of them, because some of these are pretty banger, and then we're going to go over the tier sets, and I did have a chance to play through a lot of them. Now, these are minor testings, mind you, so, like, this isn't any sort of Mythic Plus, like, pulling a bunch. Very minor testing, so very initial impressions. So, this is the DK set here. This is just gorgeous. We have the Raid Finder version, which I want. I'm loving, like, the gray and the reds, and, oh, man. This is the heroic set. This is probably actually my least favorite, but green's not a favorite color of mine, so that's personal opinion, purely subjective. The mythic set here, gorgeous. And actually making me want to PvP is not the gladiator set, although it's incredibly nice, I will admit. This elite set right here, this is like, that's just, oh, out of this world good. And while I have you here, there is also new outdoor world plate gear that you're going to be getting in the new zone, and this is it right here in several different colors. I'll also do the leather when we get to the leather tanks as well. But my goodness, that's just gorgeous. Now, this is available for Paladin, Warrior, and Death Knights in the new outdoor world zone. Isn't that just something else? The aspirant as well. Just, they banged it out of the park with this, guys. The looks on this is absolutely fantastic. But this is so this right here is the Death Knight stuff right here. But we have tier sets to actually go talk about. So, 2 set for Death Knight. Blood Death Knight, of course. Consuming a Bone Shield charge has a chance to cause your next Heart Strike to apply Ashen Decay, reducing damage dealt to you by 10% and increasing damage dealt to afflicted targets by 20% for 8 seconds. So this is going to give you a 10% damage DR to afflicted targets and a 20% damage amp. And what the chance on the Bone Shield charge consume is, I'm not quite sure yet. It was a little difficult to see in, like, kind of what in the minor testing that I was able to do, because obviously, number one, you can't hit a dummy for this, right? There's no Mythic Plus available, so I just went into the highest level dungeon that I could find at a Mythic 0, pulled everything, and tried to kind of get a general sense of it. Now, of course, this is not a good... This is not the test that I want to be doing, right? The moment they announced Mythic Plus testing, that's what I want. But I was kind of able to get a quick idea. And the one thing that I couldn't see, though, is really what is the chance of that next Heart Strike to work. I did notice that if you tombstone, and that you tombstone a 5-stack Bone Shield, you're pretty much guaranteed your next Heart Strike, but the 4-piece is where it's at. So Soul Reapers execute damage, which I don't know how relevant it's going to be in like, that's definitely going to be taken in raid. I don't think you're going to opt out of Empowering Rune Weapon for a single target execute ability for Mythic Plus, but, this could be good enough. Probably not, but who knows. But Abomination Limbs, damage applies Ashen Decay to all targets. Just literally applies it. Great. Heartstrike and Blood Boil's direct damage extends Ashen Decay by 1 second. So this is going to give you windows of massive burst every 2 minutes in Mythic Plus, where you are just going to go nuts. And I'll just allow you to, allows you to play a little bit safer. You got Slappy Hands going. You got 10% DR going. You got this 20% damage amp as well. So this is so for Blood Death Knight, what's going to happen here is we are really going to be looking for bigger trinket, 2-minute trinkets that are going to work really, really well. I'm not quite sure if the trinkets are affected by this damage, but if you have any trinkets that give you like a massive amount of strength or anything like that, like if we have anything that gives you like a big boost of haste every 2 minutes, right? This is something you're going to want to pair with that. Anything that gives you secondaries or increases your primary stat, anything like that. So I'm actually a really big fan of this Death Knight one. It's pretty good. It's mostly damage related, not very tanky related, but the thing with Blood Death Knight is we're pretty tanky. Unless whatever we're fighting is going to 1 KO us, we're pretty good. Right? So I am a fan of this one, but there are some other ones to get to as well. We're gonna move on over to the Paladin here, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm not a fan of the Paladin tier set look. They've got some really nice pieces, I'll give them that. The shoulders with the blades on them look really cool. This is the Gladiator set. This is the Elite set. The big thing with this is I don't know what is going on with that helmet. That has to just, I don't know what's going on with that helmet. This is normal, which, again, it has a couple of good pieces, like the chest piece looks pretty good. The belt looks very usable with some Mog sets. The cloak as well looks really, really nice. I actually don't mind the Raid Finder version that much, just the helm, man. I can't get over that helm. This is the Heroic set, which, again, I'm not a fan of green, and then Mythic. I like the Shadow Flame daggers, like the effects on the shoulders looks really, really good. I'm just overall not a fan of this particular design, and apparently not a lot of others were as well in trade chat. So here we go. But now we got to talk tier set. So 2 set. Judgment grants a stack of Sanctification, increasing your armor by 1% per stack. Upon reaching 10 stacks, aka, 10 judgments, your next cast of Consecration is empowered, increasing its damage and healing done by 200% and its radius by 30%. Sanctification stacks are reset with empowered when empowered consecration ends. 4-piece. While within an empowered consecration, your abilities have a chance to deal bonus damage or healing as fire. So I think this tier set bonus is one of those that sounds better on paper than in practice. So when I was going through and I was kind of trying to set up that big empowered consecration, now it is big. 30% is not just 30%, it is really big. It's almost like double the size. It's really, really crazy. Problem is number one, if you cast a new consecration, that one goes away. Really, really sucks. I don't like that one at all. It should bar you from casting a new consecration or something, whatever. But if you accidentally press a new consecration, the other one goes away. The other one is you need to have insane dungeon knowledge to know exactly every mechanic that's coming up when you have this empowered consecration ready to go down. Because if you have to move out of it for any reason, you have a dead tier set. You just have a dead tier set. Now, the 4-piece, while you're within that empowered consecration, your abilities have a chance to deal 20% bonus damage. That was actually a pretty good chance. And when I was able to manage to set this up and kind of really stay in it and not have to worry about anything, like I said, I was mostly going into Neltharis, so it was there was a couple of things to worry about, but really I was kind of able to stay in it. But you could immediately see oh no, if this was Sanguine, there's zero chance of ever staying in this empowered consecration. It's just not happening. It's just not. Trying to move around a lot of this stuff and around frontals or things like that, it can make this incredibly difficult, and I don't think it's going to be any better. I think this is going to be pretty difficult to work in practice, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm going to be putting in some feedback, and when Mythic Plus comes around, I want to be testing this. So this might exceed my expectations, and I kind of might be worried for nothing. But that's where my initial fret lies. But on the Warriors tier set looks like something. Yeah. So this is the Gladiator one. This is the Elite one. This is the Raid Normal. I do like the shoulders though. They're kind of like engine-y, whatever. Like this is Raid Finder. I'm not a fan of whatever's going on here with the gloves. It just kind of makes you look like a robot. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Mythic set as well. Like again, the shoulders do kind of look decent. The effects are cool. This is just not for me. Let's just leave it at that. Two beasts. Spending rage has a chance to cause your next shield slam to consume your bleeds on a target, instantly dealing 100% of remaining damage and reducing the target's damage dealt to you by 10% for 5 seconds. 4-piece. For each bleed effect consumed from a target, their damage dealt to you is reduced by an additional 2%. When Shield Slam consumes a bleed, the cooldown of Thunderclap is reset, and the cooldown of Thunderous Roar is reduced by 1 second. Now, this was really, really fun to go around and test, by the way. So, we tried... I started moving things around, and at first, just to get the really low cooldown on Thunderous Roar, I removed Shockwave, but I was, you know, talking on stream, and like, of course, we're not going to be able to remove Shockwave from our Mythic Plus build. Number one, I'm going to take this time. Can you please, Blizzard, take Shockwave out of being a capstone talent? It's not a capstone talent. Just stop it. It's just not. Put this somewhere here. Make it group utility. Take these 2 talents, tell them to fuck off. I don't care. But this has to end. I've been saying this since pre-season 1 beta. This is not a capstone talent. Cool, that's done. So we're gonna want to be running obviously the low Thunderous Roar, so 1 minute baseline with the Thunderous Words to increase all of our bleeds by 15%. This is also going to make talents like Bloodborne a lot more attractive, although what you're going to have to give up to get there is pretty difficult. Now, this is the build that I was running yesterday, and as you can see, there's no unstoppable force. And the reason why is this actually procs a lot, to the point where there was some times where for like a solid like 10 seconds I was literally like only casting it was like Shield Slam, Thunderclap, Shield Slam, Thunderclap, Shield Slam, Thunderclap, while burning Rage through Ignore, Pain, and Shield Blocking off the GCD, and I was just like, this is actually insane. Like, just smack, 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 like, back and forth. I'm like, I can't even hit a revenge. Like, what's going on? The damage on this was really, really good. One of the things that this did do, though, that we talked about on stream, this made, if you thought Warrior was high action per minute before, this is going to throw it into overdrive. And the reason why I wasn't running Unstoppable Force is part of what Avatar does is it increases the damage of Thunderclap by 50%, which is great. And this still could be runnable, right? I don't want to say that this is the play, but this is what I was kind of doing to kind of test out some rotational stuff, right? But it also reduces the cooldown of Thunderclap by 50%, and that last part just literally wasn't needed. Reducing the cooldown of Thunderclap just literally was not needed. I was quite literally getting so many Thunderclap resets. Number one, it was a lot of fun. But I do see myself getting carpal tunnel playing Warrior this season, because it is very high octane go, and it already is that, and it's only increasing in that. So there is some build stuff that that I'm definitely gonna have fun with while I'm, you know, building up and things like that. So this is a very, very fun tier set. This is gonna grant you a 16% DR total when you remove Deep Wounds, Rend, and Thunderous Roar off of a target. Most of the time, it's going to give you a 14% DR, because most of the time it's just gonna be Rend and Deep Wounds, right? So this is a very high octane set. It's really fun, and I can't wait to get my hands on it and play in some Mythic Plus with it. Demon Hunter. Now this is I love the looks of these ones, by the way. They knocked it out of the absolute park with Demon Hunter. But I am gonna give big asterisks to I'm gonna give a big asterisk to their tier set bonus, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So this is the gladiator one. One of the things that I find people might not like that much is the helm. I am actually a pretty big fan of this in some scenarios. I think it looks like it just looks badass as hell. Completely optional. Like, if you remove, the nice thing with this is if you remove the helm from the set, it still looks really, really good and super Demon Hunter-y. You don't need it, but it looks dope. I really like it. And then we're gonna go over the raid ones. So this is the normal. We just saw the PvP ones. This is Raid Finder as well. I am a big fan of this one, and I am going to be farming myself one out. They don't have so don't look at the cloak. The cloak isn't the Raid Finder one. That's still the PvP one. They haven't updated all the models for all of the things yet, which is perfectly fine. I mean, it's day one. It's like 24 hours in a PTR, not even. Heroic. I really, really like this. I don't know. I love this. And then you gotta get to the mythic one and just, oh, chefs, like, come on, man. I'm a big fan of purple. So yeah, really, really happy there. Now, before we go over the tier set bonuses, they have announced and said Demon Hunter is getting a rework. They've talked about Vengeance and they've talked about Havoc. So the class tree and the spec trees are getting a rework. And right now, the strength of Demon Hunter in Season 2 in 10.1 is 95% in their tier set. So the tier set bonus here, I'm seeing a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people going, oh, this is terrible. We don't know how that rework is going to affect the spec, okay? We really don't. And I think it's put reaction on pause for what it's going to be like, because I'm seeing a lot of doom and gloom. Let's not doom and gloom just yet. Let's just see what happens. But here's the tier set bonus. So 2-piece. When you attack a target afflicted by Sigil of Flame, your damage and healing are increased by 2%, and your stamina is increased by 2% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So that's 10% increased damage, healing, and stamina. Sigil of Flame's periodic damage has a chance to flare up. This is 4-piece. Shattering an additional soul fragment from a target and dealing additional damage. Each 40 fury you spend reduce its cooldown by 1 second. So obviously, if you compare this to Season 2 tier, Season 2 tier wins hands down, right? Like, obviously. But we don't know how this rework is going to work with the talent set. So let's, like I said, put reaction on pause. Now, taking this tier set and going and playing with it, Sigil of Flame periodic damage has a chance to flare up, shattering an additional soul fragment. That happens a lot. And I mean, like, a lot. Which works really, really well with like, in itself, because what would happen is I would just have so many soul fragments for spirit bombs without trying sometimes. I'd be like, holy crap, okay. Like, there was one point where it was just like, I hit a 5 spirit bomb, and then right when the global is about to end, I had another 5 fragments ready to go, and I was like, okay, let's hit another spirit bomb, and then without really doing much, like, right, just having that Sigil of Flames, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm out of fury. I'm like, okay, cool, let's hit fracture. Oh crap, okay, now I've got like 7 soul fragments. What's going on? And with that, because you start spending all of that fury and you're in that high octane moment, Sigil of Flames comes off cooldown before you even know it. I think I got this down to around 14-15 seconds in a pull. But that is kind of, like I said, back of the envelope math. That's kind of playing quick. I could be wrong on that, but it felt around that 15-second mark. I'd have to go back to the VOD and actually like count out the seconds, because I don't have any of my UI set up on the PTR or anything, right? As you can see, I'm using base UI, just modded around it a little bit. But getting this is going to be one of those tier sets that isn't going to perform as well as the 10.2 one, but might work very, very well in conjunction with the new talent tree. But it actually is very possible that even with the new talent tree, that you just stay with your old tier set. I'm not gonna lie, it actually is very possible that happens. So this is a wait and see. Guardian Druid. Now, Guardian Druid is getting a lot, like, alright, there's a lot of Druid customizations coming in this next patch, which is going to be covered in the next video, because there's way too many of them to go over just here right now, so that's very, very exciting. But we also have the sets. So, I actually think this looks really, really good. I'm a little bit more of a fan of the Avarice set, so this is on the Night Elf, because I will admit these looked terrible on a Kul Tiran. This is the Raid Finder version. Heroic, again with the green with the Heroic. Not a huge fan, but it's okay. This is the Mythic set. The Mythic set doesn't have the shoulders uploaded yet, so don't take that into account. We have Gladiator here and Elite. And again, the Elite doesn't have the shoulders uploaded. So just something to watch out for there. But let's get into the tier set itself, because the current version of Bear does have a very strong tier set. This one here revolves around Rage of the Sleeper. 20% of your damage and healing and 100% of the armor you gain during Rage of the Sleeper fuel growth of Dream Thorns, which wreath you in their protection after Rage of the Sleeper expires. So use Rage of the Sleeper. When it ends, you gain a bonus based on how well you performed during that Rage window. Absorbing 10% of damage dealt to you while Thorns remain. So this is a tier set where it's, again, this is very difficult to test in low content because you're just not taking damage, right? You're just not taking enough damage, because 10% of the damage you take, you need to take a lot of damage. So the higher end you perform, the better this goes, right? This is obviously going to do a lot. 10% of that is going to do a lot more in a plus 20 fortified than it's going to be in a plus 10 tyrannical, right? 4-piece. Each 40 rage you spend while Rage of the Sleeper is active extends its duration by 1 second up to 5. So you're going to be able to extend Rage of the Sleeper by up to 5 seconds. Really, really nice. And your Dream Thorns become Blazing Thorns, causing 10% of the damage absorbed to be reflected at the attacker. Again, this is one of those things that scales so well in higher key levels and the more damage you take, right? I'm kind of excited for this. Now, unfortunately, there are some bugs with details with this one. So when I was going in, pressing in, doing a bunch of damage and all this stuff, it would show up at wildly different values from time to time. And it just, I get bug error after bug error. Like, this is the one where I had to grab Bug Sack and Bug Grabber for the PTR, because it was just literally flooding my screen with bugs. And I think it has a lot to do with the tier set, but I could be wrong. It could just be the fact that I swapped over to Night Elf to make the looks for these. There's a couple of different things, but this is one where, again, I think this is going to be incredibly strong. But I need to get into actual Mythic Plus, where I take damage, right? Where I have to heal myself through Frenzied Regions. I have to upkeep my armor stacks, to not die. And that, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to play with. But Rage of the Sleeper, Bear, looking very, very strong. This is going to create some really fun windows. This is going to create some really fun windows where you're going to want to eat a big tank buster with Rage of the Sleeper. Like, because 10% of that tank buster is going to be thrown right back at him. That's there's skill expression to be had here, and this is just generally going to be good, but there's also going to be some strong skill expression. Like, can I live this tank buster without a defensive that isn't Rage of the Sleeper? Because that's just more damage being struck back at the attacker. And last but not least, Brewmaster Monk. All right, let's get into the sets, man. It's just been an exciting 24 hours. So I'm not the hugest fan of this tier set, but I've never really been a huge fan of Monk tier sets to begin with. If you're a really big fan of that like Monk aesthetic that they've been having forever, this is great, but really, I think they need to start going in a different direction. I actually do like a lot of the pieces on this Mythic set. There's some decent pieces there. This is Gladiator, and then this is Elite. I think if they want to start attracting more people over to Monk, they need to start getting away from this vibe of Monk tier set and start with something new, because it's had the same aesthetic forever. And obviously not, it's like, it's literally the least played class in World of Warcraft, like statistically speaking. But, tier set. Alright, so, fun. 2-set bonus. Breath of Fire deals 20% bonus damage as Shadow Flame and causes you to heal for 50% of all fire damage dealt. Ooh. 4-piece. Your attacks against afflicted targets by Breath of Fire have a chance to deal 10% additional damage as Shadow Flame, and each Celestial Brew also grants a Stagger Absorb for 100% of the Shadow Flame damage you have dealt, causing your damage delayed by Stagger to instead be prevented. This is going to, this number one, makes Celestial Brew a monster of a cooldown. It is really, really strong. But I also think that, again, this is, so this is like Bear, where you need to be in higher keys to kind of really see the value of this. And in the minor testing that I was doing, it's really kind of not that possible. This also does mean that we're going to be going to Dragonfire Brew. Now, Dragonfire Brew has been being played a little bit this season, but I think it's mostly been Charred Passions. I've been playing Charred Passions. That's where I've been having the most amount of fun. But I do know that there have been some people playing Dragonfire Brew. But with this, obviously Dragonfire Brew is going to be the play on the talent tree, so that's what you're going to want to be doing. It's all around Breath of Fire, right? But man, this thing slaps. In the testing that I was doing, so I was just literally going and pulling like 60 mobs, just try to get everything I can. This tier set was doing 40% of my healing. Like it's called Charred Dreams here, and it was not a small amount. More targets, more Breath of Fire, more Shadow Flame damage, more healing. This is while it did not show up much on the details meters, I think that is an error with the details and just the patch being so new. It did show up on the healing meters, and I can tell you, holy crap, I cannot wait to play with this. One of the biggest things that I've said with Brewmaster is that they need like a close of clutch mates kind of thing that like Ogvoker has, where their stagger is more effective outside of a raid, because the problem with balancing Brewmaster is if their stagger mechanic active mitigation is really good in Mythic Plus, it's absolutely god tier busted in raid, right? And there's just no tuning that. That's just how it works. Where if you just made it more effective in Mythic Plus and less effective in raid, it's an easy thing to balance. But this tier set really just cranks everything in the tier tree that they have now and works really, really well. Now, I'm not sure if the embellishments, the Shadow Flame embellishments, also works with this, because Shadow Flame does count as fire damage, so there's a lot of little testing to be had here, but this is one where I'm actually very, very excited for Brewmaster Monks. I hope you guys are excited too, but the wording is a little bit difficult on this, and as we get into more testing and we can see things more clearly with proper logs and details and things like that, you know, I went to bed right after testing all of these. I woke up and I'm recording, so I haven't had a chance to look at much. These are initial reacts, findings, and things like that. And of course, while we're at the end of the video, things are always subject to change. So like, comment, sub. I will be covering all of these things as it comes along. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Which tier set is your favorite? Which tier set bonus is your favorite? And which tier set look is your favorite? Comment down below. I would love to hear it. Have yourself a good one, everyone. Bye. Happy tanking.